So when I made that $48,000 assignment, I obviously paid all my debt back, but immediately I was like, okay, where's the next piece of education? What am I going to do with this money? So I think I had bought, I bought a couple courses, I bought into another mentorship, and just continuously like trying to upgrade my knowledge, because the bank account, your income, it will never go farther than what you know. It'll never go farther than your personal development. So that's kind of what I invested in right away. And so you ask me, how did I continue to keep going? And Grant Cardone says this all the time. I just kind of made myself broke again immediately. Like I was like, I need to like get rid of this money. And instead of investing in like assets or a business, I just poured it all back into myself. Like in 2022, I think it was 2022, I didn't pay any taxes because a large amount of money that my business made, I poured it back into my knowledge.
Welcome everybody to the Beyond the Sale podcast. This week, I'm super excited to have Alexis Morgan on. I met Alexis through investing in property. Alexis is a lender in Atlanta right now. I think she was in Orlando when we first met, but now she's moved up to Atlanta, expanding her business. I'm doing some big things. The cool part about Alexis, I think when I met her, she was 18 years old. Yep. And she was doing big things, and it was extraordinary. I was talking to her, and I was like, "How old are you?" I was like, "You must be like 35." She's like, "No, I'm 18." But she's working as a lender, doing a lot of flips and working with people that are doing flips and wholesaling, real estate wholesaling. So I'm super excited to have her on. Super excited to introduce her to our audience. And Alexis, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, John. It's been a crazy journey since we first met. I turned 23 days ago, and I felt like before I was like crushing it as a teenager. Now I'm excited for this new chapter and just continuing to grow the businesses.
Yeah, crushing it as a teenager. Now you're crushing it as a 20-year-old. Fantastic. So Alexis, just getting started. Let's just go back to as you're 18 or 17. How did you decide to have the forethought to getting involved with real estate as a vehicle to make money or as to invest? I know a lot of our audience is realtors, and I'm not sure if you have your real estate license, but what made you think about real estate as an investment tool?
Yeah, as similar to everyone else, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book kind of got me started. And when I was starting, I was thinking about getting my real estate license. I still never have had my real estate license. I started always off market, always the investor side of things. And for me, it's been a good journey. But it started with Rich Dad Poor Dad and really learning that all the wealthy people end up in real estate. Real estate agents know this, investors know this, but real estate, it provides a vehicle for someone to park their money, to get tax benefits, to buy a home. There's so many things that there's so many purposes that real estate serves. It's almost impossible not to be in it. And anyone who's not in real estate, they're in it and they don't know. They go home and they sleep at night. They go to their office and they're occupying real estate. Everyone is in real estate. So I think it's something that, with the understanding every wealthy person ends up in this industry. And two, this is not something that's negotiable. Every single person is in real estate, whether they realize it or not. It kind of stuck to me. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to dig into.
Okay. And I know a little bit of your story. I believe that you were in college and and you decided hey, look, this is not for me. And I have a college degree, and I decided that it wasn't for me probably at some point when I was in college. But what made you say, hey, look, I'm leaving and I'm going to go into this real estate thing? And how did you, my parents would probably give me a hard time about that. How did you convince everybody that this was?
Well, I think the reality is I didn't really convince anyone until I started bringing in money from my real estate ventures. When I dropped out of college, I was at Georgia Tech, so pretty prestigious university. Great opportunities would have came after I graduated. But I didn't convince anyone. No one in my family was in real estate. No one in my family was like super, super successful in terms of entrepreneurship. So when I left, I was really just betting on myself. And the reason I was willing to do that was because I saw other people doing it. For me, when I was 18, I had a lot of confidence, and I was like, If anyone else can do it, I can also do it. If that guy is doing it, that guy's not any smarter than me. I can do it. And then the final kind of nail in the coffin was the time. You know, when I met you, John, I was 18. And so when I went into a lot of these rooms and I was 18 and I was 19, people wanted to help me just because I was young. And so if I would have finished school, I would have finished at, 22. And, I don't know, because at the time we can't go back, but I truly believe that I got some of the opportunities that I got because people wanted to aid in the journey and support me because I was getting started so young. Everyone that I talk to is like, man, if I would have started when I was your age, like if I had a dime every time I've heard that, I would probably be a billionaire already.
Yeah. We just hired a guy that on our team. He's 18, and I said the same thing. I'm like, hey, you could be a millionaire by 25. It's very easy. If you just stay focused. So that's awesome. Okay. So you took the jump. You got into real estate. What was the first? I guess I know we met through Sub2, but who was the first mentor? Like who? How did you get started? What was the plan from the get go to how to be a rich person?
Yeah. So my whole journey and the success that I've had is due to great mentors. Right away in the beginning, I was not trying to figure it out myself. So immediately after I dropped out of college, I went to a real estate meetup and I asked the lady at the front desk of the meetup, I was like, I want to be a high level wholesaler. I want to get properties, ugly houses and sell them to fix and flippers. Who in this room should I be talking to? And she pointed me to like 2 or 3 people. It's very focused. If you want to get what you want, you have to know what you want and then put the intention out there. So I was very focused when I went into that meetup. And I met a guy, you might know him, Alexis. He was doing $1 million a month in wholesale revenue when I met him. And so he was coaching me a little bit on some appointments that I had. I bombed the appointments, but those weren't important. What was important was the relationship, because he later posted on his Instagram that he was hiring acquisitions. And I was like, dude, if you teach me, I'll make you a lot of money. 3 days later, I was in the office, getting trained for the position of a closer, getting on the phone, making sales calls, locking up deals, putting things under contract. And then the 3rd day in that office, I closed my first wholesale deal. I got something under contract.
Perfect. Okay. So got out, went to the real estate meetup, found somebody that could help you. You knew what you wanted, very specific, very focused, found that person could help you. They taught you. And then, hey, look, and then you continue with him for probably maybe a year, couple months, and then decided, hey, I want to.
It's actually only 3 months, and the only reason that is because I didn't drop out to get a job, and so I was never stopping my own marketing. I was always marketing on my own, and I was there at that office 9 to 6 p.m. every day. Anytime I wasn't there, I was doing my own marketing. And so on month number 3, around 3 months in, I got my own deal. I closed a deal. I made $5,000. And at that point, it was sort of like a conflict of interest working at the company because we're running the same business. So it was like, hey, you got to choose your path. And I was like, okay, well, after some deep analysis, I took a bet on myself dropping out of college. I'm going to take another bet on myself quitting this job that I've been at, for 3 months.
3 months.
Fortunately, in the 3 months that I was working there, I racked up like $13,000 or $14,000 worth of commissions. So I took that money and then I invested in the mentorship that I met you in, which is Sub2 with Pace Morby.
Perfect. And so let's go back up, because I wrote this down. In order to get what you want, you got to know what you want. And so I took from that statement was like, okay, well, you got into the room, you were very focused, you knew what you wanted, but you also left that job and said, hey, this is not what I want. So what was the big why? What was the goal? What's the goal even now or in the future, that North Star that's saying, this is what I want? And I guess the reason why I asked that is because in order for you to leave that job and know what you want, that's probably the reason why you left the job. Because like, hey, this is not what I want. This is not the big goal. But I need to do this. So what is that? Yeah.
So for me, and even now, of course, there's numbers that are associated with it, millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever the number is. But I think what all of us are really chasing is time freedom. And so when I saw the money that I was making at the job, and then I saw the money that I could make on my own, and it was coming out to about the same if I did the same amount of effort, the time freedom of me running my own business was more exciting to me. even if I racked up $13,000 in 3 months in commissions, but I was there 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. It monopolized my day. There was no time for networking. There was no time for investor lunches. There was no time to build relationships with other individuals who would help me grow. At some point, you would reach a cap, even though commission jobs, it's supposedly there's no cap on how much you can make. There's only so many hours in the day. And so at some point, you would reach a cap of what you could make and have no time freedom. So I wanted to venture out on my own because if I could make the same amount of money, even less with time freedom, and know that I have the freedom to go network with individuals who are smarter than me, go build relationships with someone who can build a side business with me, get coaching from someone who could help me scale. The time was so important to me. And so I was there 9 to 6 every day. There's not much time for anything else when you have a job like that.
Okay. So time freedom is the goal. Makes sense. That's my goal as well. Is we want time to spend with our family, time to do what we want, freedom to go where we want to go. So for the next step, I remember we talking about you started door knocking and you started on your own, and you had a crew of door knockers and you kind of mastering that part of it. So you went on your own, you start door knocking. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so what I realized after I left the job, I realized very quickly I knew how to sell, but I did not know how to market. I had no idea how to get leads. This company was dropping leads in my lap and I was closing them. But when I left, I was like, holy cow, how do I get leads? Like, I have no idea how they got leads. So I joined Sub 2 and I started asking these questions like, how can I find the most motivated sellers? How can I do marketing efficiently? Because at this point, I bought Sub 2, I think it was $8,000 at the time. So around half of my nest egg was gone. I couldn't just throw $3,000 or $5,000 a month away on cold callers or direct mail. I was like, okay, I need to do some marketing that is gonna get me by and make sure I get deals. So in Sub 2, I was educated around pre-foreclosures and door knocking. I was like, boom, that's it. It's free. I can just do it. I'm outside all day. I'm not stuck in an office. This is what I want to do. And so as soon as I was getting in front of people, it was easy for me. I just needed someone to talk to. And one of my biggest deals, door knocking, I remember I door knocked the lead. So it was cold lead. Then I negotiated the deal. I TC'd the deal. And I also found the buyer. So there was no other partners. It was a $48,000 assignment. I was 18 in 2 months. This was the biggest check I ever seen in my life. I thought I was like a millionaire.
Right. Yeah. And then, I've seen people make that money too. They're young. And then this is like, I'm a millionaire. I'm done. They're like, just relax. Right?
Yeah.
What made you keep going is that financial freedom situation, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I made that money, what people don't know about that story is that before I made the $48,000 assignment, I was $10,000 in debt. I just was betting on myself. I think probably 3 or 4 months passed by where I was just marketing, paying living expenses, whatever the case may be. I was spending money just being alive. That's the story, right? If you're alive, you have to spend money. You have to make money. So when I made that $48,000 assignment, I obviously paid all my debt back, but immediately I was like, okay, where's the next piece of education? What am I going to do with this money? So I think I had bought, I bought a couple courses, I bought into another mentorship, and just continuously trying to upgrade my knowledge, because the bank account, your income, it'll never go farther than what you know. It'll never go farther than your personal development. So that's kind of what I invested in right away. And so you ask me, how did I continue to keep going? And Grant Cardone says this all the time. I just kind of made myself broke again immediately. I was like, I need to get rid of this money. And instead of investing in assets or a business, I just poured it all back into myself. In 2022, I think it was 2022, I didn't pay any taxes because a large amount of money that my business made, I poured it back into my knowledge. And that's why, for me, this journey has been super exponential. I'm only 2 years in, 18 months in. I can't imagine where I'll be in 10 years, because a lot of the money now, I still don't own real estate, because I don't want to put my money in real estate until I feel like I've learned enough I've been exposed to enough information. I've been exposed to enough knowledge to know, hey, when I invest in this asset, I'm basically saying that's it. I understand, and that's it. Maybe that's too black and white. Maybe it's not. But for me, the most important thing right now is getting the exposure, getting the knowledge, getting the resources, the network together to make sure that I can go far instead of going fast.
Love it. Okay. That's cool. And that's a conscious decision, because it'd probably be very easy to put money into real estate right now, especially, if we're we were talking about more about subject to deal where you're maybe not putting down so much money, but you can have the real estate, right? And you're just throwing off a couple $100s a month. But it also kind of is somewhat of an anchor too, because it's something to manage. And
it's a liability. Yeah. For me, it's a liability. Mm-hmm. For others, it's a complete asset. They get cash flow. They get, a tax write-off. For others, it's a complete asset. For me and my specific journey, buying a long-term rental single-family house right now would be a liability. It would take time. It would take energy. It wouldn't be worth it for me. I'd rather spend money on something else.
Yeah, I love that. And you're 20, right? Too, and you're in college, right? You're learning. Yeah. Right? And so I love that too. So, okay. So let's talk about now that transition to where you are now, and how did you come up with that? You kind of mentioned how you came up with that idea, but how do you? So obviously, what I'm hearing is you want to expand your network, learn more. Your goals are bigger because you're kind of delaying the buying assets. I have bigger goals here. I want to make money. I want to make money. I want to make cash. And I kind of see real estate as from a real estate traditional sales position. This is my vehicle to make cash. Yes. And then I take that cash and I invest it into assets that pay me money. So, however, you're doing wholesaling now and you're a lender. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming you're trying to generate cash right now and you're putting it into education on yourself or different rooms or different stages, different places where you can get your exposure more.
Absolutely.
But tell me more about that. Tell me the transition. I know you moved up to Atlanta. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so in Sub 2, I met a guy named Abraham Gray, and he's here in Atlanta. He's been in Atlanta for 20, 25 years or so. And when I met him, he was sort of notorious in Sub 2 for giving out these insane proof of funds, like $2 million proof of funds. And so when I met him, I was like, hey, how do you have this money just sitting in the account like this? Like, if anyone has $2 million sitting in their bank account, imagine how much they have deployed elsewhere as an investor. So I was like, what is this about? What did you do? Like, give me the story. And so we really connected. He got a lot of his money from private equity, buying, growing, and selling businesses. So he was teaching me about that. This was around November, December of 2022. And I was like, man, this is really cool. So at that point, I kind of put real estate on the back burner, and I was generating leads for him to buy businesses. I wanted to add value and build the relationship. Common theme for me is relationships. You'll never make a single dollar without anyone else. So I'm very intentional about who I'm talking to, who I'm spending time with, who I'm investing in a relationship with. So long story short, Abraham and I buy a business together in February of 2023. At this time, I still lived in Orlando. And I was like, hey, this is awesome. He said, great. We're signing papers. And he was like, Alexis, this is super cool. If you move to Atlanta, we can do a lot more deals together. I remember that sentence like it was yesterday. And I moved 3 days later just to continue learning and continue being his mentee. And so when I moved here to Atlanta, my wholesale business was in Orlando. I was door knocking. I had a door knocking team there. When I moved here to Atlanta, I just had the business that I bought and I had the relationship. And the first 3 months I was here, I wasn't really, banking in this wholesale money that I was used to. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, I don't really have a business here. I kind of just moved off a whim. And I was talking to Abraham. It's like, what do you do? What are some of the other businesses that you have? And he started telling me about lending money. And so I was like, why are you not doing more of that? Like, this is the most amount of money that I've ever seen been made passively. What I've learned now is lending is the only thing that's truly passive. There's no fulfillment. You send a wire and then you get a wire back. And I was like, why are you not doing more of this? And he was like, well, I don't have time to market it. His time is worth so much money. He doesn't even have time to market his lending business. He just kind of gets leads because he's been in this Atlanta market for so long. And I was like, what? I will market it. And so I pretty much took the lending business and I kind of exploded it, always talking about it. And that's what's really taken off. I'm focused on growing that and raising for that actually, so that we can continue to level up that business.
Awesome. So lending. So I know Pace talks about gator lending, transactional lending, different types of lending, holding notes on houses, that sort
Yep.
of thing. So he's, I know Abraham. I know I've watched a little bit of Abraham, and he buys businesses. Does he? Is it just lending on? Is it lending for businesses? Is it lending on hard asset, like on assets, on homes?
Yeah.
Is it transactional lending? Is it all of the above? But like, what's
It is all the above, but the most common type. If he's gonna go into a business, he's gonna get equity for sure. Just because lending on a business, the collateral is not great. You know, if the business owner goes away and you step in, you don't know how to run the business, it could be almost worthless. So in a business scenario, I think equity is probably the safer play. But when it comes to lending in real estate, the most common thing that we do is lending to fix and flippers. You know, in this market alone, we have over $11 million deployed right now for fix and flippers. First lien position, 6 to 12 months loans. And so, yes, we do double closes, we do EMD, but more often than not, the majority of the business is fix and flip loans.
Got it. And then for first position loans. So which obviously it means that if something does happen, the home defaults to you all, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. And that's just safe.
Is that we also fix and flip in this market. So we only ever lend what we would actually pay. If someone walks away, they can't finish the project, you know, we take over and we have a good deal on our hands. So it works out.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And obviously you have to have money to lend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first you have to kind of have some kind of, first you start off with working for, like, I love this kind of working for somebody, like learning the skills, learning the craft of what your sales and what you're doing. Yep. And then understanding like what's going on, understanding, how to put how to have the lien on the property, how to lend money, whatever. But then from learning, doing it yourself, and then going back to learning, and then now it's just like how are you going back to getting more income? Because for instance, like you're partnering with somebody, but how are you generating income now so in the future when you're 25, you have income, so you can lend too.
Absolutely. So the way that we do this is Abraham lends to fix and flippers at around 16, 18, 20%. Now, the reason that we have those fees is because it's private money. You know, we're not hard money lenders. We're not going to ask for tons of paperwork or dive deep into the background. More recently, we've partnered where when we get a deal together, the returns of that deal is split between us. And even more recently, in order to do more fix and flip loans, we're raising money right now, guaranteeing investors who come in with us, explaining our strategy. Hey, we'll guarantee you guys a 12% return over the course of a year, paying out dividends quarterly. And then we, of course, go and lend that money out very conservatively at 16, 18, 20%. And so we can make a spread together and have a profit margin as partners in the business. So that sort of model allows me to make money whether or not I'm grinding it out. It's lending, so it's pretty passive, whether or not I'm necessarily working. And then we have a TC that works on all the paperwork for us, that kind of compiles the communication between the title company, between us, the borrower. So that's kind of what the business looks like. But a large part of it, right now especially, is raising, because we're deployed. You know, we there's no shortage of these loans, especially since he's been here for so long. There's no shortage of opportunity.
That's incredible. Yeah. And what's really cool about that, and I'm sure you've thought about this already, but it's Abraham's fantastic in regards to he has lots of businesses, and from what I understand from watching him, and he's helped a lot of people. So he's like a partner in lots of businesses. And so really what you guys are doing is just another business, right?
Yes.
Together, right? Which is obvious. And so he's there, and that's perfect. What a great situation. So a mentor and a partner, and that's a great relationship. Yeah.
And then here I started wholesaling as well. I was just like, okay, at that period where I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I need to make sure that I'm keeping up with the income that I had when I left, making sure the move makes sense. And so here in Atlanta, I also have a door knocking team. They'll go out and door knock houses that are about to go to auction. Whereas in Florida, you can get the notice of default, get it right away when they get that letter. In Georgia, the foreclosure laws are much different. You can foreclose in 60 days. So all of the people that we go and talk to are at risk of losing their house within the next 30 to 60 days. So we have a door knocking team that goes out, door knocks the house, closes deals, and then we can get the contract and start dispelling. So we do wholesale as well here in Atlanta.
Okay, excellent. So when you're go out and you're talking to these sellers, they have a need. Their need is stronger to
Absolutely.
sell their house.
Absolutely.
Cool. Switching gears to realtors. So in my industry, there's not a lot of realtors that understand this side of the business. And why do you think it's important, from your side of the bit of what you do and coming in contact with realtors, or if you do, why is it important for you think them to understand an investor, or how to work with an investor, or creative finance, lending? Why is that important?
Absolutely. Yeah, so when it comes to being a realtor, I think it makes sense to work with investors, or at least understand the investment side of the business, because it's almost like guaranteed income. If you understand the numbers, investors are very logical, whereas home buyers and people who are moving, this very emotional decision. You almost have to sell them. You have to wine and dine them. You have to present the sexiness or give them some riz. Riz is a word that's being thrown around right now. But you give them some riz around why they should buy a house or why they should sell a house. And it can become sort of like you're a therapist to this person, or you are like full-time consultant. Whereas with an investor, especially if you build a relationship, number one is repeat business. A home person who's buying or selling a house, they might do that once every 7 to 10 years. An investor is going to want to continue to rack up assets. The more you send them, the better the relationship is. And the second reason why I think it's important is because it's very logical. If you understand the numbers and you understand how to run the numbers, how to identify a deal, it will be very hard for you to send out something and have questions about whether it's going to move or whether it's going to sell. So once you understand how to underwrite, you can very quickly create predictable income. And many realtors do well with predictable income. They have a pipeline. But what I'm trying to explain here is that the numbers won't lie in terms of what is a deal and what's not a deal. And so if you send out a deal, you can guarantee yourself a certain amount of money. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that realtors have to understand the investment side, is because it's non-emotional. It makes your job much easier. It makes your job much more predictable, in my opinion. And it's relationship based. So it's repeat business potentially.
Yeah. So you're right. So on the buyer side, if you have somebody that if the numbers work, you have a house, numbers work, you send the deal out, you have an infinite amount of investors or buyers that want to buy the properties. If the numbers work, it's not going to be a difficult decision as long as you have a list of people that would buy that property. And then on the selling side, if you can find that, if you find that, it's really the same thing. If you find that property and the numbers work, then it's very, very simple. You can buy it yourself, or you can give it to somebody else, wholesale it. So yeah, excellent. So lastly, I want to just talk with you about, so one of the big things that I think I've learned from you, I'm 41 and you're 20, you're 18. I learned is that, when I had a situation, I remember and you would probably remember too. I had a situation with this property. It was a foreclosure, and I didn't know how to buy it. I was very, very new at what I was doing, buying foreclosure properties. And the cool part about you, Alexis, is you connected me to somebody that could help me, or you came out. You was like, hey, I can help you, or I can connect you to the person that can help you. And I think from that situation and that interaction, I learned so much from just being somebody who's very always wanted to do things myself, to when you first started, he's like talking about, hey, look, let me build my network. You can never make money by yourself. You always have to make it with somebody else. And just sharing your network with other people just to build your network. And also just really with that whole, like, that giver's gain kind of mentality off the bat. And since that experience, it was really cool for me. I just wanted to let you know is that I've learned so much of just growing my network just by sharing, right? And it's in the process of opening up and sharing. So maybe you'll touch on a little bit, like where does that come from? Like, because I don't think that's natural for everybody. Like, and so I think I think what is natural is sometimes for people to want to hoard everything themselves. So where does that come from? And how can someone increase their ability to be more open, to share more?
Yeah, the abundance mindset when it comes to success is really, really important. You know, when you think about how much money you want to make, some people say, okay, I want to be a millionaire. I want to make $1 million. What comes to mind for me is, you know, if you want to make $1 million, in my opinion, I want to get to something like 1 billion. And why is that? Some people are like, oh, you don't need all that, or oh, that's too much money, or what's the point? If you make $1 million, you can only change your life with $1 million. You can only change maybe your family's life with $1 million. It's selfish to only want such a small goal because you can't change the world. You can't change your community. There's only so much you could do with that amount of money. And so really the ability to think bigger and go bigger, it drives you, and it gives you a motivation that's outside of yourself. It gives you a feeling that is outside of yourself. And I don't know if you've ever given someone a gift before and seen their face light up, but I think a ton of people would agree with me when I say giving is sometimes better than getting. One of the wholesale deals that we did here in Atlanta, it was a $35,000 assignment, and I wrote a check to the guy who knocked the door and closed the deal for 20% of the deal, and his life is never going to be the same. That was so much better than me making the profit on the deal. Just seeing someone's perspective change, seeing someone's life change from an opportunity that I provided. And so when it comes to, you know, the abundance mindset, giving and sharing your network, there's almost no way that you can lose. You're either going to help other people, you're going to help other people, then help you. I've poured into a lot of people who then come back to me and they want to do business with me. They want to have opportunities with me. There's almost no way that you can lose. You either help other people and they help you, or sometimes you might get screwed and someone shows you why they don't deserve to be in your life. Someone shows you why they don't deserve your attention and your energy. And so when people show me who they are, I believe them the first time. By no means am I saying every interaction I've had has been good, but when someone shows me who they are, I believe them the first time, and you kind of put them in their place in your life. So my mindset around it was heavily influenced by Pace Morby for sure. But when I put it into practice, I started realizing, number one, there's so much money out here, like trillions of dollars circulating the universe and in the United States alone at any given time. And number two, it always worked out. You know, there was continuously good things, good karma, I guess you could say, coming back into my life.
Awesome. So with that, I'll close it. So Alexis, if someone wanted to, needs a lender, needs money for a fix and flip or businesses or that sort of thing, I guess they can connect with you. I'm assuming at Alexis J. Morgan on your Instagram or where else?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My email is alexisjmorgan with 2 N's @gmail.com. But yeah, I respond to all my DMs every single night, respond to all my emails every single morning. So if you guys need anything, I am readily available to help. And any questions about lending, I hosted a Zoom on Halloween night about private money lending. There's a lot of people, W-2 employees specifically, realtors, entrepreneurs who are sitting on cash and they want to make some passive income and they just don't understand how to do it effectively and not lose money. So I'm happy to answer questions around how to lend money and how to do it safely so that you're protecting yourself, because it is really, in my opinion, the best thing since sliced bread, the only business that's truly passive.
Awesome. Alexis, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us. I know your time's valuable. I appreciate it a lot, and I look forward to connecting here in the future.
Thank you so much, John. Awesome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.